Blood always tasted like copper and
Please, I need your
desperation.
help.
Maya knew this because she'd been biting her own lip for the last 3 hours, walking through rain-soaked streets of Boston with a contract in her pocket that would change everything. The city lights blurred through her tears as she stumbled past closed storefronts, her white waitress uniform clinging to her skin like a second layer of shame. $300,000. That's what her father's medical bills had become after the cancer, after the experimental treatments insurance wouldn't cover, after he'd died anyway and left her family with nothing but debt and a grief that never ended. The collection agencies had been patient at first, sympathetic even, giving her time to grieve. Then the patience ran out. Then the threats started. And then they'd gone to Sophie's college, her 17-year-old sister. A straight-A student with a full scholarship to MIT, brilliant and kind and everything their father had hoped for. They'd cornered Sophie outside her dorm 3 days ago and told her that if Maya couldn't pay, the debt would transfer to her on her 18th birthday in 4 months. 4 months. Sophie would turn 18, and the debt collectors would own her life the same way they owned Maya's. Maya had tried everything. Worked triple shifts at the diner where she'd waited tables for 6 years, sold everything she owned that had any value, her laptop, her grandmother's jewelry, even her car. Begged every charity and social service in the city, applied for loans she'd never qualify for. Nothing. Nothing even came close to touching a debt that doubled every 6 months with compounding interest. The original $50,000 her father had borrowed for his treatments had somehow become $300,000 in 3 years. Legal loan sharks, the kind that operated just within the boundaries of the law, the kind that knew exactly how to trap desperate people and bleed them dry. Maya had been ready to give up, ready to let them take everything. But then the letter arrived, written on heavy parchment that smelled like old money and something else, something that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. The letter had been brief and to the point. I understand you have a debt you cannot pay. I can help. Come to the Crimson Room on 5th Street. Tonight, midnight. Come alone. Bring the enclosed contract. No signature, no explanation. Just an address and a contract written in language so formal it looked like it belonged in a museum. Maya had researched the Crimson Room, or tried to. It didn't exist officially. No website, no reviews, no business license on file with the city. But when she'd mentioned it to Rita, her manager at the diner, the older woman had gone pale. That's a vampire place, honey. You don't go there unless you're desperate or stupid. What if I'm both? Rita had grabbed Maya's hand with surprising strength. Listen to me. Vampires don't do favors. If they're offering to buy your debt, they want something in return, something worth more than money. Like what? Like you. But Maya was out of options. The collectors had made it clear, pay by the end of the month or they'd start proceedings to transfer the debt to Sophie. Maya would watch her brilliant little sister's future destroyed, all because their father had been desperate to live, and Maya couldn't earn money fast enough to save him. So here she was, walking through rain at 11:47 p.m. toward an address that officially didn't exist, carrying a contract she didn't understand, about to offer herself to vampires because she had nothing left to lose. The Crimson Room didn't look like a vampire lair. It looked like an upscale restaurant, understated elegance, floor-to-ceiling windows tinted so dark Maya couldn't see inside, expensive cars lining the street despite the late hour and terrible weather. A doorman stood at the entrance, unnaturally still, unnaturally perfect. Vampire. Maya's instincts screamed it even though she'd only seen one vampire before in her life. Name? His voice was cultured, British, with an accent that suggested he was far older than he looked. Maya Torres. I have an appointment with Theron Blackwood. Her voice barely shook. Small miracle. The doorman's eyebrows rose fractionally, the most expression she'd seen from him. Of course, Miss Torres. He's been expecting you. He opened the door with a gloved hand. Welcome to the Crimson Room. The moment Maya crossed the threshold, the storm vanished. Not just the sound, the very air changed, became warmer, heavier, charged with something that tasted like metal and old magic. The restaurant was full despite the hour, every table occupied by people who were too beautiful, too graceful, too still to be human. Vampires. Dozens of them. Conversations didn't stop when Maya entered, but they shifted. Heads turned, Eyes tracked her movement across the room. She felt their attention like physical touches, assessing, calculating, hungry. Some whispered, others simply stared with predatory focus that made her want to run. But louder than her fear was the memory of Sophie's voice on the phone 3 days ago. Maya, they came to my dorm. They said if you don't pay, they'll take me instead. What do I do? The doorman led Maya past tables where impossibly beautiful people sat with wine glasses filled with liquids too dark to be Cabernet. Past a bar where the bartender moved with inhuman speed, serving drinks faster than eyes could follow. Past a hostess station where a pale woman watched Maya with eyes that reflected the candlelight like a cat's. They stopped at the back of the room, at a table set apart from the others by shadows that seemed too dark, too solid to be natural. A single man sat there, reading a leather-bound book by candlelight, seemingly oblivious to the crowded restaurant around him. "Mr. Blackwood," the doorman said, bowing slightly. "Miss Torres has arrived." The man looked up, and Maya forgot how to breathe. He was the kind of beautiful that didn't look real. Sharp cheekbones that could cut glass. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble by a Renaissance master. Pale skin that seemed to glow with its own inner light. He wore a black 3-piece suit that probably cost more than Maya's annual rent. Every line perfectly tailored to a body that radiated controlled power. But it was his eyes that made Maya's heart stutter and skip. Silver, not gray. Silver, like polished metal, reflecting the candlelight with an otherworldly gleam that was both beautiful and terrifying. Maya Torres. His voice was smooth as aged whiskey, with an accent she couldn't place. British but older, from a time before countries had their current borders. "Please sit." "Thank you, Edwards." The doorman bowed again and disappeared. Maya stood frozen for a moment, every instinct screaming at her to run. Then she thought of Sophie, and forced her legs to move. She slid into the chair across from Theron Blackwood, her wet uniform squeaking against the expensive leather. Up close, the wrongness was even more apparent. He didn't blink often enough, didn't breathe. His chest was perfectly, absolutely still. And when he moved to close his book and set it aside, the motion was too fluid, too graceful, like watching water flow. Not human. Definitely not human. "You received my letter," Theron said, folding his hands on the table. "And you brought the contract I sent?" Maya pulled the folded parchment from her pocket with trembling hands. It was still dry despite the rain. Some magic she didn't understand. Theron took it from her, and when his fingers brushed hers, Maya felt a shock run through her entire body. Electric, like touching a live wire, like something inside her recognized something inside him. Theron went completely still. His silver eyes widened, fixed on the point where their fingers had touched. Then, slowly, deliberately, he raised the contract to his face and inhaled deeply. For 5 heartbeats, he didn't move, didn't blink, simply held the parchment to his face, breathing in her scent from where her fingers had touched the paper. His expression cycled through emotions too fast to track. Shock, disbelief, hope, something that looked almost like pain. Then he lowered the contract and stared at Maya with an intensity that made her want to look away. "Impossible," he whispered. The word came out rough, broken. "It's impossible." "What's wrong?" Maya tried to pull her hand back, but he caught it gently, cradling it in both of his. "Your scent, your blood." His voice was hoarse now, stripped of its earlier smoothness. "I know it. God help me. I've known it for 200 years. That doesn't make sense. I'm 23. Not you. The soul that lives inside you." Theron's free hand came up to touch her face with infinite gentleness, his fingers trembling like he was touching something precious and fragile. "Do you have any idea what you are, Maya Torres? What you've always been?" "I'm just a waitress trying to pay my family's debt." "No." Theron stood abruptly, still holding her hand, pulling her to her feet. Every vampire in the restaurant turned to look, conversations dying completely. "No, you're so much more than that." He turned to address the room, and when he spoke, his voice carried supernatural resonance that made the chandeliers tremble and the candles flicker. "Bear witness, all of you. This woman carries the soul of my bonded mate. After 200 years of searching, after decades of loneliness and grief, I have found her. I have found Elizabeth." The room exploded with whispers. Maya heard fragments through the chaos. Elizabeth? The Elizabeth? Impossible. She died in 1823. The bond. He's claiming a soul bond. Look at her eyes. By the ancients, look at her eyes. Maya tried to pull her hand free, panic rising. I don't understand. I don't know who Elizabeth is. I'm just Maya. You were Elizabeth. Theron turned back to her, and she saw tears gathering in those impossible silver eyes. In 1823, in London, you were a seamstress named Elizabeth Ashford. You were my bonded mate, my soulmate. You died of typhoid fever in my arms after making me promise I'd find you again, that I'd wait for your soul to return to me. That's crazy. Reincarnation isn't real. You're standing in a room full of vampires, Maya. You're talking to a man who's lived for 600 years. Is reincarnation really more impossible than that? Theron's thumb brushed across her knuckles. I've spent 2 centuries searching for you, looking for your eyes, your scent, the way your blood calls to mine across lifetimes. I've interviewed thousands of humans. None of them were right. None of them were you. He pulled her closer, close enough that Maya could see herself reflected in those silver eyes. Until tonight. Until you walked through that door, desperate and afraid, offering yourself to pay a debt. And the moment I touched your hand, I knew. Your soul recognized mine the same way mine has been crying out for yours for 200 years. Maya's vision blurred. The room tilted sideways. She felt her knees give out, felt herself falling, and the last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was Theron's voice, gentle and broken. Welcome home, my love. Welcome home. Maya woke in a bed softer than clouds. Silk sheets the color of midnight pooled around her, and for a disoriented moment, she thought she was dreaming. Thought the debt collectors and the letter and the vampire who claimed she was his dead wife reborn had all been a nightmare brought on by stress and exhaustion. Then she opened her eyes fully and saw where she was. The room was enormous, easily 3 times the size of her entire apartment. A 4-poster bed with curtains of deep burgundy velvet tied back with golden cord. Windows stretching from floor to ceiling, currently covered by heavy drapes that blocked out what must be daylight. Furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. An antique wardrobe. A dressing table with an ornate mirror. Chairs upholstered in fabric that probably cost more per yard than Maya made in a month. And sitting in one of those chairs, watching her with those impossible silver eyes, was Theron Blackwood. Easy, he said quietly when Maya jerked upright. You're safe. You fainted at the Crimson Room. I brought you to Thornhaven, my estate. These are guest chambers. Maya scrambled backward until she hit the headboard, pulling sheets up like armor, even though she was still fully clothed in her damp waitress uniform. Where am I? What did you do to me? I did nothing beyond catching you when you fell and bringing you somewhere safe. Theron leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. Without the candlelight and shadows of the restaurant, he looked different. Still impossibly beautiful, still clearly not human, but less intimidating. Almost concerned. I apologize for overwhelming you. I should have broken the news more gently. I've had 200 years to prepare for finding you again. You've had approximately 3 hours to learn that souls can be reborn and vampires are real. This is insane, Maya's voice cracked. You're insane. I'm not your dead wife. I'm not anyone's soulmate. I'm nobody. A waitress with a GED and crushing debt and a family that needs me to save them. You're not nobody. Theron's voice was gentle but absolute. You're everything. You're the soul I've been searching for across 2 centuries. And I know how that sounds. I know how impossible it seems. But Maya, he stood, moving to the windows. He pulled back a curtain slightly, and weak dawn light filtered through, making him wince slightly. Let me show you something. He turned back to face her, and in the daylight, even filtered, even weak, Maya could see him more clearly. The perfection of his skin, unmarred by any pore or imperfection. The way he held himself with a stillness no living thing could achieve. The silver of his eyes that caught and reflected light in ways human eyes never could. I'm 600 years old, Theron said quietly. I was born in 1424 in what's now Romania. I was turned into a vampire in 1449 during a war I no longer remember the name of. I've lived through plagues and revolutions and the birth of the modern world. I've seen empires rise and fall. I've loved, lost, killed, and ruled for centuries. He moved away from the window, sitting back in his chair, but maintaining distance, giving her space. And in all those 600 years, I've only ever loved one person. Her name was Elizabeth Ashford. I met her in London in 1823. She was a seamstress, poor but educated, with a mind as sharp as any scholar's and a heart kind enough to see past what I was to who I could be. What happened to her? Maya heard herself ask. She got sick. Typhoid fever swept through London's poor districts in the summer of 1823. It killed thousands. Elizabeth was one of them. Pain etched deep lines in Theron's ageless face. I offered to turn her, to make her immortal like me, begged her to let me save her, but she refused, said that becoming a vampire would change who she was at her core, that she'd rather die as Elizabeth than live forever as something else. His hands clenched on the arms of his chair. On the morning she died, November 15th, 1823, she made me promise something. She said that souls recognize each other across lifetimes, that if soulmates were real, and she believed they were, then she would find her way back to me, that I would know her by three things: her eyes, her scent, and the way her blood would call to mine. Theron met Maya's gaze directly. Your eyes are hazel with gold flecks, exactly like hers. Your scent, the unique combination of your natural smell and your blood, is identical to hers. Not similar, identical. And when I touched your hand tonight, when I smelled your blood on that contract, I felt something I haven't felt in 200 years. What? Maya whispered. Our bond, the connection between soulmates. It activated the moment we touched, like a circuit completing after centuries of being broken. He touched his chest. I felt it here, a warmth I'd forgotten existed, a recognition that goes deeper than logic or reason. Maya pulled her knees to her chest, trying to process. Even if what you're saying is true, even if souls can be reborn and I am somehow this Elizabeth person, I don't remember any of it. I don't remember loving you. I don't remember London or dying or making any promises. I'm just Maya. I know. Theron's voice was infinitely gentle. And I'm not asking you to remember. I'm not asking you to be Elizabeth. She lived her life and died, and her soul moved on to whatever comes next. You're Maya Torres, a different person with different experiences and different dreams. I understand that. Then what do you want from me? Theron was quiet for a long moment. I want a chance. That's all. A chance to prove to you that what I felt when I touched your hand wasn't madness or delusion. A chance to show you the world I live in, the supernatural world that exists alongside yours. A chance to let you decide, freely and without pressure, if there's any truth to what I believe about us. And my family's debt? Paid in full. $300,000 transferred to your creditors as of 3 hours ago. Your mother and sister are free of it. The contract you were meant to sign is void. You owe me nothing, Maya. Not money, not servitude, not blood, nothing. The words didn't make sense. Then why would you? How could you just? Because finding you again is worth any price. Theron's smile was sad and genuine. I've had 200 years alone. 200 years of grief and searching and hope that slowly died into resignation. And then you walked through my door and everything I thought was lost came flooding back. Your family's debt? That's pocket change compared to what you've given me just by existing. Maya stared at this ancient vampire who just paid her crushing debt without negotiation, who claimed she was his lost love reborn, who was asking, not demanding, but asking for a chance to prove it. What happens now? She whispered. Now you have a choice. Theron stood. You can leave. I'll arrange transportation home, give you enough money to relocate your family somewhere safe if you're worried about supernatural attention. You walk away, free and clear, and we never see each other again. Or you stay here at Thornhaven as my guest, my protected ward. You learn about the vampire world. You let me show you what Elizabeth saw in me that made her believe in soulmates and reincarnation. You give me time to earn what she gave me freely. Your trust, your companionship, and maybe eventually your love. He moved toward the door, giving her space and privacy. Think about it. Rest. When you're ready, ring the bell by your bed, and someone will bring you food and fresh clothes. We can talk more tonight, after I've rested through the worst of the daylight. Theron paused at the door, his hand on the frame. For what it's worth, Maya, I know how insane this all sounds. I know you have every reason to think I'm delusional or dangerous or both. But I promise you this, if you choose to stay, even for a short time, I will protect you with everything I have. No one will harm you. No one will force you to do anything you don't want to do. And if you decide to leave, I'll respect that choice. He looked back at her one more time, silver eyes full of hope and fear, and something that looked like wonder. Welcome to Thornhaven, Maya Torres. I've been waiting 200 years for you to come home. Then he was gone, leaving Maya alone in a room that belonged in a castle, in an estate she didn't know, having just been told she was the reincarnation of a vampire's dead wife. She should run, should call Sophie, call her mother, get as far away from this impossible situation as she could. But Maya found herself reaching for her phone instead, scrolling to her sister's number, and when Sophie answered with a sleepy, "Maya, it's 7 a.m, all Maya could say was, "The debt is cleared, all of it. You're safe now." And somehow, sitting in that beautiful room in a vampire's mansion, Maya knew she wasn't leaving. Not yet. Not until she understood what was happening to her. Not until she learned the truth about Elizabeth, about soulmates, about whether love could really transcend death itself. Maya spent the first hour after Theron left exploring the room she'd woken up in. The wardrobe held dozens of dresses in various styles, some modern, some that looked like they belonged in period dramas, all in her exact size, which should have been impossible since no one had measured her. The bathroom was larger than her bedroom at home, with a clawfoot tub that looked antique and a shower with fixtures that were definitely modern. Someone had thought of everything: toiletries, towels, even a robe hanging on a hook that felt like silk against her fingers. Maya showered, washing away the rain and the fear and the lingering smell of the diner's kitchen. When she emerged, she found fresh clothes laid out on the bed, jeans that fit perfectly, a soft sweater in deep green, undergarments that made her blush because someone had known her sizes for everything. A knock came at the door just as Maya finished dressing. "Miss Torres? It's Victoria. May I enter?" Maya recognized the voice, the elegant vampire woman from the restaurant. Yes. Victoria entered carrying a breakfast tray that smelled incredible. She was tall, with silver-streaked black hair pulled back in a severe bun, wearing a black dress that managed to be both elegant and practical. Her eyes were the same reflective quality as Theron's, but darker, deep brown that caught the light. "Good morning. I hope you slept well, given the circumstances." Victoria set the tray on a small table by the window. "Master Blackwood asked me to bring you breakfast and offer to show you around the estate, if you're comfortable with that." "Where is he?" Maya asked. "Resting in his chambers. Vampires don't sleep exactly, but daylight weakens us considerably. We're strongest at night, vulnerable during the day." Victoria gestured to the tray. "Please eat. You must be starving." The food was far better than anything Maya had ever made at the diner. Fresh fruit, pastries that looked handmade, eggs perfectly cooked, coffee that smelled expensive. Maya ate, while Victoria stood by the window, giving her space but clearly prepared to answer questions. "How long have you worked for Theron?" Maya asked between bites. "I've served House Blackwood for 170 years. He saved my life during the Industrial Revolution, pulled me from a factory fire that should have killed me, gave me a choice, die or accept immortality. I chose this." Victoria's expression softened. "He's a good master, Miss Torres. Fair, kind even, by vampire standards. You could have ended up in a far worse situation. Everyone keeps saying that. Like I should be grateful a vampire bought my debt and claims I'm his dead wife reborn. You should be grateful he bought your debt before someone else did." Victoria's voice went cold. "There are vampire houses that would have used you far more cruelly. Houses that see humans as disposable, as food or slaves or toys to break. Master Blackwood doesn't operate that way." Maya set down her fork. "What does he want from me? Really?" Victoria was quiet for a moment, considering. Permission to hope. He loved Elizabeth more than anything in his 600 years of existence. When she died, Something in him died too. He's been searching for her soul ever since. Searching for you. And now that he's found you, he just wants a chance to know if what they had can exist again. But I'm not her. No, you're you. And maybe that's better. Victoria moved to the door. Finish your breakfast. Then, if you're willing, I'll show you Thornhaven. You should know where you are, at least. The tour of Thornhaven Estate took 3 hours and left Maya's head spinning. The mansion was enormous, 4 floors above ground, 3 below, sprawling across what Victoria said was 2,000 acres of private land. 60 rooms in total, though many were unused. Libraries filled with books in dozens of languages. A ballroom that could hold 200 people. Training rooms where vampire guards practiced combat that looked more like deadly ballet. And everywhere, paintings. Dozens of them, scattered throughout the halls and rooms. All of the same woman. Master Blackwood commissioned these over the decades, Victoria explained as they walked through a portrait gallery. Different artists, different styles, all trying to capture Elizabeth perfectly. He couldn't bear to forget what she looked like. Maya stopped before the largest painting, a woman in a garden, wearing a dress from the 1820s, her dark hair piled high, her face caught mid-laugh at something outside the frame. The resemblance was undeniable. Not identical. Maya's face was slightly rounder, her nose a bit different, but the eyes were exact. Hazel with gold flecks, bright with intelligence and warmth. He really loved her, Maya whispered. He still does. That's the problem. And the miracle. Victoria continued walking. This way. There's something else you should see. They descended to the second sublevel, into corridors made of older stone that felt like they predated the mansion above. The air here was different, charged with something that made Maya's skin prickle. Magic, Victoria said, noticing Maya's reaction. The lower levels are warded with protections older than America itself. No one enters without Master Blackwood's permission. She stopped before a heavy wooden door carved with symbols that hurt to look at directly. This is the archives. Master Blackwood's personal collection of knowledge spanning 6 centuries. He's given you unrestricted access. Why would I want access to vampire archives? Because they contain records of your past lives. All of them. Victoria opened the door. If you want to know who Elizabeth was, who came before her, who came after, the answers are here, if you want them. The room was circular, lined with shelves holding books and scrolls protected behind glass, climate-controlled, preserved with obvious care. In the center sat a single book on a reading table, leather-bound, old, the pages yellowed with age, but still intact. That's Elizabeth's journal, Victoria said quietly. She kept it during the 3 years she spent with Master Blackwood. He saved it after she died. No one has read it in 200 years. She met Maya's eyes. He wants you to read it, to understand what you meant to him then, what you mean to him now. Victoria left, closing the door softly. Maya stood alone in the archive, staring at the journal. She could walk away, refuse to engage with this insanity, demand Theron release her and never look back. Or she could open that book and learn the truth about a woman who died 2 centuries ago, wearing her face. Maya's hands moved before her mind decided. She sat at the reading table and opened the journal to the first page. The handwriting was elegant, feminine, written in ink that had faded to brown. My name is Elizabeth Ashford, and I am in love with a vampire. I should be terrified. Every rational part of my mind screams that I'm courting death. But Theron is not like the monsters in stories. He is kind, patient. He looks at me as though I am precious beyond measure. He saved my life tonight. A rogue vampire attacked the child I was watching, the daughter of the family I sew for. The creature was fast and vicious, and I was certain we would both die. Then Theron appeared like an avenging angel. I saw what he truly is, fangs extending, eyes going silver, moving faster than thought. He killed the rogue without hesitation. And then he looked at me and asked if I was hurt. Not compulsion, not magic, just genuine concern for a seamstress he'd never met. And I realized, monsters are not defined by what they are, but by what they choose to do. So when he offered to make me forget what I'd seen, I refused. I want to remember him. This beautiful, dangerous creature who saved a child and asked nothing in return. I think I'm already falling in love with him. Maya turned the page, her heart hammering. The entries continued. Elizabeth's growing relationship with Theron. Secret meetings in gardens and libraries, stolen moments away from the judging eyes of a society that would never understand. A love that deepened despite all logic and reason. Theron told me today what I am to him. A soulmate, he called me. He said that in 600 years of existence, he'd never felt this way about anyone. That my blood calls to his in a way that transcends mere attraction or compulsion. That when he's near me, he feels complete for the first time since he was turned. I should be frightened, should run from this impossible situation. But when I'm with him, I feel the same completeness. Like I've been searching for something my entire life and finally found it in the most unlikely place. Is this what love is? This terrifying, wonderful certainty that I would rather die than be without him? The journal spanned 3 years in Elizabeth's elegant script. Descriptions of evenings spent talking until dawn, of Theron teaching her about the supernatural world, of Elizabeth teaching him about humanity and compassion, of a love that seemed to defy every law of nature. And then, abruptly, the tone changed. August 1823. I'm sick. The fever started 3 days ago and hasn't broken. Theron is frantic, begging me to let him turn me, to accept immortality so we can be together forever. But I can't. I've seen what happens to humans who become vampires. They change. Their very nature shifts. The humanity that made them who they were fades into something else. Something powerful and beautiful. Yes, but not them. I don't want to lose myself. Don't want to become something Theron might not recognize. I'd rather have one mortal lifetime as Elizabeth than an eternity as a shadow of who I was. He doesn't understand. He's hurt and angry and terrified of losing me. But this is my choice, my body, my soul. The entries became shorter, weaker, as Elizabeth's illness progressed. October 1823. I'm dying. I can feel it. The fever consumes me from the inside, burning through what little strength I have left. Theron sits by my bed every night, holding my hand, still begging me to change my mind. I've tried to explain, tried to make him understand that some things are worse than death, but all he hears is that I'm choosing to leave him. So I've made him a different promise instead. The final entry was dated November 14th, 1823, the day before Elizabeth died. I told Theron today about my grandmother's beliefs. She was from the old country, from places where magic still runs deep. She believed that souls recognize each other across lifetimes, that true soulmates find each other again and again, no matter how many lives they live. I don't know if it's true, but I want it to be. I want to believe that even if I die tomorrow, some part of me will find its way back to Theron someday. I made him promise he'll wait for me, that he'll look for my soul in whatever form it takes. He'll know me, I told him, by my eyes, by my scent, by the way my blood calls to his, the way it does now. He's crying as I write this. I've never seen him cry before. 600 years old, and I've brought him to tears. I'm sorry, my love. I'm sorry I'm not brave enough to become what you need me to be. But I promise, if souls can return, if reincarnation is real, I will find my way back to you. Wait for me, however long it takes. Wait for me. I love you, Theron Blackwood, in this life and all the ones that follow. The journal ended. Maya sat in silence, tears streaming down her face for a woman she'd never known but somehow understood completely. Elizabeth had loved Theron enough to die rather than lose herself, had believed in soulmates enough to promise she'd return. And Theron had waited 200 years, searching, hoping. I'm not her, Maya whispered to the empty room. I don't know if I can ever be what she was to him. But even as she said it, something in her chest ached. Recognition? Memory? Or just the weight of knowing a love that transcendent had existed and she was somehow part of it? A soft chime rang through the archives. Evening bells, Victoria had called them. Signaling sunset, the vampire's waking hour. Theron would be up soon, waiting to talk to her, hoping for an answer about whether she'd stay or go. Maya closed Elizabeth's journal carefully and stood. She wasn't ready to decide, wasn't ready to commit to anything, But she also wasn't ready to leave. Not yet. Not until she understood more about this world, about Theron, about the possibility that Elizabeth's promise might actually be real. She made her way back through the corridors to the main house, following the path Victoria had shown her. As she climbed the stairs toward her guest room, she heard voices, vampire voices, speaking in hushed tones that they probably thought were too quiet for human ears. But Maya's hearing had always been good, and these vampires weren't being as careful as they should have been. Can't seriously believe she's Elizabeth reborn. It's been 200 years. You didn't see his face when he touched her hand. I've never seen Master Blackwood lose his composure like that. Still, a human? In these times? It's dangerous. If word gets out about what she supposedly is, every vampire house on the East Coast will be trying to take her. Let them try. You know Master Blackwood, he'll protect what's his. That's what worries me. He's already obsessed. If anything happens to this girl, if she turns out to be just some human who resembles Elizabeth, it'll destroy him. Again. Maya pressed against the wall, listening. So the household wasn't convinced either. They were just as uncertain as she was about whether this was real or delusion. She continued to her room, mind racing, questions piled on questions. How could she be someone's reincarnation? How could souls even work that way? And even if it was true, even if she really was Elizabeth's soul in a new body, what did that mean for her? For Maya Torres, who had her own life, her own dreams, her own identity? A knock came at her door just as the sun finished setting. Maya opened it to find Theron standing there, looking restored now that night had fallen. He'd changed into simpler clothes, black pants and a deep blue shirt that made his silver eyes even more striking. Maya, did you rest? Eat? His voice was carefully neutral, but she could see the hope and fear warring in his expression. I ate. I took a tour with Victoria, and Maya hesitated. I read Elizabeth's journal. Theron's composure cracked. All of it? All of it. Her account of meeting you, falling in love, her illness, her promise. Maya met his eyes. She really believed she'd come back to you. And she did. Theron's voice was rough. You did. I know you don't believe it yet. But Maya, when I touched your hand, when I smelled your blood, I felt our bond activate for the first time in 200 years. That's not something I can fake or imagine. It's real. Even if it is real, I'm not her. I don't have her memories or her feelings. I'm just me. I know. And that's who I want to know. Theron stepped back, giving her space. I'm not asking you to be Elizabeth. I'm asking you to give me time to show you who I am, what this world is. And maybe, if I'm very lucky, you'll decide to stay of your own free will. Not because of some past life promise, but because you want to. Maya thought about Sophie, safe now because Theron had paid their debt, about her mother, freed from collectors' threats, about Elizabeth's journal and the love story that had transcended death. 1 month, she heard herself say. Give me 1 month here. Let me learn about vampires, about this bond you claim we have, about everything. And then I'll decide if I stay or go. The relief that flooded Theron's face could have lit the entire mansion. 1 month. That's more than I hoped for. Thank you, Maya. You have no idea what this means to me. I'm starting to understand. Maya crossed her arms. But I need ground rules. I'm not a prisoner. I can call my family whenever I want. And if I decide to leave after the month, you let me go. No arguments, no manipulation. Agreed? Agreed. Though I should warn you, the supernatural world knows about you now. Every vampire at the Crimson Room last night saw me claim you as my bonded mate. Word will spread quickly. There may be interest in you from other houses. Interest? Old souls, those who reincarnate, are valuable. Some vampires believe drinking from someone like you grants access to accumulated power from past lives. Theron's expression darkened. Which is why you can't leave the estate alone. Not yet. Not until I can ensure your safety. So she was a prisoner after all, just a comfortable one. Maya wanted to argue, but the fear in Theron's eyes stopped her. He wasn't trying to control her. He was genuinely terrified something would happen to her. 1 month, Maya repeated. Show me everything, and we'll see what happens. Theron's smile was like watching winter melt into spring. Then let me start by showing you the real treasure of Thornhaven, the place Elizabeth loved most. He led her through the mansion and out onto a balcony she hadn't noticed during the tour. The view took Maya's breath away. Below them, illuminated by moonlight and carefully placed lanterns, was a garden that seemed to exist in its own world. Night-blooming flowers covered every surface, whites and silvers and deep purples that glowed in the darkness. A fountain sprayed water that caught the light like diamonds. Paths wound through carefully maintained beds that should have been dormant in November, but somehow thrived anyway. Elizabeth designed this, Theron said softly. She said every house needed beauty to balance the darkness. She worked on it for 3 years, planning every flower, every pathway. This garden was going to be her wedding gift to me. We were going to marry in the spring of 1824. His voice broke. She died before we could finish it, so I finished it for her, maintained it for 200 years using magic and money and sheer stubborn will, waiting for her to see it bloom again. Maya stared at the garden, at this monument to love that had survived 2 centuries. Theron had kept Elizabeth's dream alive, tending it year after year, decade after decade, hoping against hope that someday his lost love would return. "It's beautiful," Maya whispered. "So are you." Theron looked at her, and in his eyes, she saw not just grief for what he'd lost, but hope for what might be found. "Thank you for staying, Maya, even if it's just for a month, even if you decide to leave. Thank you for giving me this chance." As they stood on that balcony overlooking a garden built on love and loss, Maya felt something shift in her chest. Not memory, not recognition, but maybe the first stirring of understanding. She'd come to Theron expecting chains. Instead, she'd found a vampire who'd waited 200 years on a dead woman's promise, who'd built a garden and preserved a journal and searched through countless faces looking for the one that was right. Who looked at Maya Torres, nobody special, just a waitress from Boston, and saw his entire world. Maybe she was crazy. Maybe this was all delusion and magic and wishful thinking. But for the first time since signing that contract, Maya thought, maybe it was worth finding out. The first 2 weeks at Thornhaven passed in a strange blur of normalcy and impossibility. Maya fell into a routine. Mornings spent reading in the library, afternoons exploring the grounds with Victoria as her guide, evenings with Theron learning about vampire society and the supernatural world that existed hidden beneath everyday life. She called Sophie 3 times a week, always carefully editing what she shared. "I'm working for a very wealthy family," she'd say. "Live-in position. The pay is incredible, and they're covering all our bills." "Maya, this sounds too good to be true," Sophie would argue. "What kind of work are you doing?" "Administrative stuff, research. It's boring, but pays well." It wasn't entirely a lie. Theron had given Maya access to his archives, and she'd spent hours reading about vampire history, about the great houses that ruled different territories, about the delicate balance between supernatural and human worlds, and about soul bonds. The books described it in language that was half poetry, half science. When 2 souls recognized each other across lifetimes, they formed a connection that transcended normal bonds. They could sense each other's emotions, share strength, in some cases, even share thoughts. The bond made both parties stronger, more complete, but it also made them vulnerable. If one died, the other typically followed within days, the pain of separation too great to survive. "That's why I should have died when Elizabeth passed," Theron explained one evening. They were in his study, a fire crackling in the enormous fireplace. A bonded vampire whose mate dies usually follows within a week. The grief is catastrophic, but I didn't die, because some part of me knew she was coming back, that her promise was real. Maya sat across from him, nursing a glass of wine he'd poured for her. "How did you survive 200 years of grief?" "Barely. The first 50 years were the worst. I was not myself, violent, reckless. I challenged other vampire lords to duels I should have lost, started wars over insults. Victoria says I was trying to get myself killed without breaking Elizabeth's promise to wait. What changed? Time. Therapy, though we didn't call it that in the 1870s. And purpose. I started building what Elizabeth had wanted. programs to help humans, rules about ethical feeding, creating a house based on consent instead of compulsion. Theron's silver eyes found hers. I couldn't bring her back, but I could honor what she believed in. Maya found herself leaning forward. Tell me more about her, about who she was beyond the journal. Theron smiled, genuine warmth transforming his face. She was stubborn, impossibly stubborn. Once she decided something was right, you couldn't change her mind with logic or threats or pleading. She saw the best in everyone, even me when I showed her the monster I could be. And she laughed. His voice softened. She had this laugh that could light up the darkest room. I'd do anything to hear it again. I don't know if I laugh the same way. You don't. Your laugh is different, more reserved, like you've learned not to draw too much attention to yourself. But it's still beautiful. Theron set down his own glass. You're different from her in many ways, Maya. But the core of who you are, the kindness, the stubbornness, the way you see through pretense to truth, that's the same. That's what makes me certain you're her soul in a new form. Maya wanted to argue, but she'd seen too much in the past 2 weeks to dismiss it entirely. The way her hand fit perfectly in Theron's when they walked the gardens. The way she could sometimes sense his emotions, a faint echo through what he claimed was their bond. The way being near him felt inexplicably right, despite all logic. I need to tell you something, Maya said, setting down her wine. I've been having dreams. Theron went very still. What kind of dreams? Memories, I think, but not mine. Maya stood, pacing to the fireplace. I see a woman, Elizabeth, in London, walking through streets I've never visited, talking to people I've never met, and I feel what she felt. The love for you, the fear of dying, the hope that her promise would come true. The bond is strengthening. As you spend more time with me, as you accept the possibility of what we are, the connection deepens. Your soul is remembering. Theron moved to stand beside her, careful not to touch without permission. Is it frightening? Terrifying, because if these are real memories, if I really am her, then I'm not just Maya anymore. I'm someone else wearing Maya's face. No, Theron's voice was firm. You're Maya who happens to carry Elizabeth's soul. You have your own experiences, your own personality. The memories are just context, background. They don't erase who you are now. Maya wanted to believe that, wanted to believe she could integrate these impossible memories without losing herself. But standing there, feeling the warmth of the fire and Theron's presence beside her, she felt caught between two worlds, two identities, with no clear path forward. A sharp knock interrupted them. Marcus, the head of security, entered with an expression that made Maya's stomach drop. My lord, we have a situation. Theron's entire demeanor changed from gentle companion to lethal predator in a heartbeat. Report. Dominic Ashford is at the gates. He's brought 20 vampires with him and is demanding to see Miss Torres. He's claiming the council should review your bond claim, that it happened too quickly to be legitimate. The council already witnessed our meeting at the Crimson Room. They know the bond is real. He's arguing that you manipulated her, that she was desperate and you took advantage. He wants to verify that she's acting of her own free will. Marcus's expression was grim. He's not going to leave without a confrontation. Maya's hands clenched. Who is Dominic Ashford? A rival vampire lord who's wanted my territory for 3 centuries. Theron's voice was ice. He sees you as a weakness, something he can use to challenge my authority. If he can prove our bond is false, he can claim I've violated vampire law by making a fraudulent claim. It would give him grounds to challenge me for leadership of the Northeast Territory. Then let me talk to him. I'll tell him I'm here voluntarily. Absolutely not. Dominic is dangerous, manipulative, and he has no qualms about using compulsion on humans. Theron moved toward the door. Marcus, increase security on all entrances. Victoria, take Maya to the safe room in the sublevels. I'm not hiding while you... Theron turned back, and the look in his eyes stopped Maya's protest cold. Please, I can't fight effectively if I'm worried about protecting you. Trust me to handle this. Before Maya could respond, an explosion rocked the mansion. Glass shattered. Alarms blared. And through the study windows, Maya saw flames rising from the east wing. They breached the perimeter. Marcus said, already moving. My lord, we need to get you both to... Another explosion, closer this time. The study door slammed open and Victoria burst through, her elegant composure shattered. They're inside the house. At least 15 vampires. They're not here to talk. They're here to take her by force. Theron's eyes went from silver to solid black in an instant. When he spoke, his voice carried a resonance that made the air itself vibrate. Get Maya to the archives. Lock it from inside. No one enters except me. He looked at Maya one last time. I promise you, I will end this. But I need you safe first. Victoria grabbed Maya's arm, pulling her toward a hidden panel in the study wall. This way, quickly. Wait! They're on! But he was already gone, moving so fast he blurred. Through the open door, Maya heard the sounds of combat. Crashes, screams, something that sounded like thunder but couldn't be. Victoria pulled her through the hidden passage, down stairs that spiraled into darkness. Don't slow down. Don't look back. If Dominic gets his hands on you, this whole thing becomes a hostage situation. They reached the archives level, and Victoria shoved Maya through the door. Lock it behind me. Don't open it for anyone except Master Blackwood. And I mean anyone. Dominic's people might try to impersonate us. Where are you going? To fight. I've served House Blackwood for 170 years. I'm not letting some upstart lord destroy it now. Victoria's smile was all fangs. Lock the door, Maya. She vanished back up the stairs. Maya stood alone in the archives, hands shaking as she turned the heavy lock. The metal clicked into place with a finality that made her stomach turn. She was trapped, hidden away while a battle raged above her, while Theron fought for his territory, his house, and, if what he claimed was true, for her. Maya moved through the archives, looking for something, anything she could use as a weapon if the worst happened. She found old swords mounted on the walls. Ceremonial, probably, but sharp enough. Found a cabinet filled with what looked like magical artifacts, all carefully labeled in languages she couldn't read. And found, tucked in a corner she'd missed before, a small altar. On it sat a portrait of Elizabeth, not one of the formal paintings scattered through the house, but something more intimate. A sketch, done in charcoal, showing her laughing at something off-frame. Beside it lay a ring. Simple gold band, with an inscription on the inside. Souls find each other. Elizabeth's engagement ring. The one Theron had planned to give her in the spring of 1824. Maya picked it up with trembling hands. It was warm, as if someone had just been wearing it. And the moment her skin touched the metal, the world tilted. She wasn't in the archives anymore. She was in London, in 1823, standing in a garden as Theron knelt before her, with this same ring held out. Marry me, he was saying. I know it's complicated. I know society will never accept us. But marry me anyway. Be my wife in truth, even if we can only tell a handful of people. Let me spend whatever time you have left making you happy. And Elizabeth, Maya, whoever she was, said yes. Said yes with tears streaming down her face and joy flooding her chest and the absolute certainty that this was right. This was real. This was forever. The vision snapped. Maya was back in the archives, the ring still warm in her palm, tears on her face that she didn't remember crying. I remember, she whispered to the empty room. Oh God, I remember. Not everything, not all of Elizabeth's life, but that moment, that pure, perfect moment of saying yes to forever. She remembered it as if it had happened yesterday instead of 200 years ago. A boom shook the archives. Dust rained from the ceiling. The battle above was getting worse. Maya shoved the ring in her pocket and grabbed one of the swords from the wall. She didn't know how to use it, but it was better than nothing. She positioned herself behind a heavy bookshelf, sword held in shaking hands, and waited. Minutes passed, or hours. Time felt elastic, stretched thin by fear and adrenaline. Then she heard footsteps on the stairs. Heavy. Multiple people. The door handle rattled. Maya Torres, we know you're in there. Master Dominic just wants to talk. To verify you're here of your own free will, open the door, and this can all end peacefully. Maya pressed against the bookshelf, not breathing. The voice was smooth, persuasive, but something about it made her skin crawl. Last chance, Miss Torres. Open the door, or we break it down. And if we have to break it down, Master Blackwood's pretty archives are going to suffer some unfortunate damage. The threat was clear. Cooperate or they'd destroy everything. Maya made a decision. She moved to the door, still holding the sword. How do I know Dominic really just wants to talk? You don't. But you also don't have a choice. You're one human against a house full of vampires. Even if Blackwood wins the fight upstairs, and that's a big if, we'll still have you. So make this easy on everyone and open the door. Maya's mind raced. She thought about Elizabeth's journal, about the woman who'd faced death with courage, who'd made a vampire lord cry with her conviction, about the soul she supposedly carried. If she really was Elizabeth reborn, then she'd survived impossible situations before. Maybe she could do it again. All right, Maya called through the door. I'm unlocking it, but I want to see Dominic personally, no intermediaries. If he wants to verify I'm here willingly, he can ask me himself. Silence. Then, fine. Step back from the door. Maya retreated to the center of the room, sword hidden behind her back. The lock clicked. They'd picked it somehow, and the door swung open. 3 vampires entered, and behind them, smiling like a wolf who'd cornered prey, was a blonde vampire with cold blue eyes. Dominic Ashford. Well, the famous Maya Torres, Elizabeth reborn. He circled her slowly, assessing. I have to admit, the resemblance is remarkable. I can see why Blackwood fell for the delusion. It's not a delusion. The bond is real. Is it? Or did a desperate young woman agree to anything to save her family from debt? Dominic moved closer. Here's what I think happened. Blackwood found a human who looked like his dead wife, paid off her debts, brought her to his mansion, and told her she was special. And you, poor thing, were so grateful you went along with it. That's not... Come with me, Maya. Let the council interview you properly, without Blackwood's influence. If the bond is real, it'll hold up to scrutiny. If it's not, Dominic's smile was predatory. Then you're free to go. No debt, no obligation, a substantial payment for your time. Win-win. Maya's grip tightened on the sword. And if I refuse, then I take you anyway. But I'd prefer you come willingly. It looks better for the challenge I'm filing with the council. What challenge? For leadership of the Northeast Territory. I'm claiming Blackwood is unfit to rule, that his grief over Elizabeth has made him unstable, delusional, that he's manipulating humans and making false bond claims. With you as evidence, I can prove my case. Dominic extended his hand. So, what will it be? Easy way or hard way? Maya pulled out the sword. Her hands shook, but she kept the point aimed at Dominic's chest. Here's another option. You leave. Now, before Theron finishes with your people upstairs and comes down here to finish with you. Dominic laughed. Oh, this is precious. The human thinks she can fight. Darling, I'm 300 years old. You're holding a ceremonial sword you probably can't even lift properly. Put it down before you hurt yourself. No. Something flashed in Dominic's eyes. Respect, maybe, or just amusement. Brave, stupid, but brave. Fine, we'll do this the hard way. He moved faster than Maya's eyes could track. One moment he was across the room, the next his hand was closing around her throat, lifting her off the ground. The sword clattered from her grip. Now then, Dominic said pleasantly, even as Maya choked and clawed at his hand. Let's discuss your future. You're coming with me. And if Blackwood wants you back, he can challenge me properly, in front of the council, with everything on the line. Maya's vision started to darken. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel Dominic's iron grip crushing her windpipe. Then the temperature in the archives dropped 20 degrees in an instant. Dominic's eyes widened. He dropped Maya, spinning around. Theron stood in the doorway, but it wasn't the Theron Maya knew. This was something else entirely. His eyes were solid black. No silver, no white, just endless darkness. Shadows wrapped around him like living things, writhing and reaching. When he spoke, his voice echoed with layers, like a dozen voices speaking in unison. You touched her. Each word hit like a physical blow. The vampires who'd entered with Dominic scrambled backward, terror on their faces. Blackwood, wait, we can discuss this. Dominic started. Theron moved. Not fast. Impossibly fast. One moment in the doorway, the next his hand was through Dominic's chest, wrapped around his heart. You came to my home, attacked my people, and put your hands on my bonded mate. The darkness in Theron's eyes pulsed. There is no discussion. There is no mercy. There is only consequence. He ripped Dominic's heart out. The other vampires screamed and tried to run. They didn't make it 3 steps. Shadows exploded from Theron, wrapping around them, pulling them down. Maya heard bones crack, heard screams cut short, and then silence. Theron stood in the center of the archives, covered in blood and ash, breathing heavily even though he didn't need to breathe. Slowly, the black faded from his eyes, replaced by silver. The shadows retreated. He looked at Maya, and she saw the ancient vampire crack with very human fear. Did he hurt you? Theron's voice was hoarse, breaking. God, Maya, did he? I'm okay. Maya's throat hurt where Dominic had grabbed her, but she could breathe. You came. You saved me. I felt your terror through the bond. Felt him touch you. Theron crossed to her in 2 strides, his hands hovering over her but not touching, like he was afraid he'd break her. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I let them get this close. I should have been faster, should have protected you better. You did protect me. You're here. Maya reached up and touched his face, heedless of the blood covering him. Theron, I remember. The ring. I touched Elizabeth's ring and I remembered. The proposal. Saying yes. Planning our wedding. Theron went completely still. You remember? Not everything. But that moment of absolute certainty that we belonged together. I felt it. I remember it. Tears streamed down Maya's face. The bond is real. I believe you now. I believe I'm her soul. Come back to you like I promised. The hope that blazed in Theron's eyes could have lit the world. But before he could respond, Victoria appeared in the doorway. My lord, the house is secure. Dominic's forces are dead or fled. But, she hesitated, the council has been notified. They're demanding you appear in New York tomorrow night to answer for the deaths. Theron's expression hardened. Then we'll go to New York. We'll face the council. And we'll prove once and for all that Maya is my bonded mate, and anyone who threatens her faces my wrath. He finally touched Maya, pulling her carefully into his arms. I won't let them take you from me. Not again. Not ever. Maya held him tight, feeling the bond between them pulse with certainty. She'd come to Thornhaven expecting servitude. Instead, she'd found her destiny. And tomorrow, before the Vampire Council, they'd prove it to the entire supernatural world. The council chambers in New York existed 3 levels below ground, carved from bedrock older than the city itself. Maya stood beside Theron in a circular arena, surrounded by hundreds of vampires who'd come to witness the hearing. At the highest tier sat 7 ancient vampires, the council that governed all supernatural affairs in North America. Counselor Alethea, a vampire with skin like polished ebony and eyes like starlight, addressed the assembly. Lord Theron Blackwood stands accused of making a false soul bond claim and executing Dominic Ashford without council approval. How do you answer these charges? The bond is real, Theron said, his voice steady. And Dominic Ashford attacked my home, my people, and attempted to kidnap my bonded mate. I acted within my rights as a territorial lord. A vampire in expensive robes stood, one of Dominic's allies. Convenient that the supposed bonded mate is a human who owed Lord Blackwood money. How do we know this isn't manipulation? Compulsion disguised as destiny? Test us, Maya said, surprising herself with the strength in her voice. Isn't there a ritual? Something that can prove whether a soul bond is real? Alethea's expression shifted to something like respect. There is. The ritual of recognition. Ancient magic that looks into the very soul and reveals past lives, past connections. If you carry Elizabeth Ashford's soul, the ritual will show us. If you don't, she looked at Theron, then you've lied to this council, and the penalty is severe. I accept the terms, Theron said immediately. Perform the ritual. An elder vampire named Matthias descended to the arena floor, chanting in a language that predated civilization. Symbols carved into the stone began to glow. He gestured for Maya and Theron to stand in the center of the circle. Join hands, Matthias instructed, and open yourselves to truth. Maya took Theron's hand, feeling the now familiar spark of connection. Matthias continued chanting, and the symbols flared brighter, brighter, until light exploded around them. And Maya fell into memory. She saw herself, no, Elizabeth, walking through London streets lit by gas lamps, saw Theron younger, less controlled, saving her from a rogue vampire, saw their first kiss in a garden at midnight, saw 3 years compressed into heartbeats of pure joy and love, then darkness, fever. Elizabeth dying in Theron's arms, whispering her promise, "I'll find my way back to you. Wait for me." The magic pulled deeper, showing other lives. A woman in colonial America, dying in childbirth before the bond could reform. Another in Victorian England, killed in an accident at age 19. A third in 1940s New York, living to old age but never meeting her soulmate, dying with a vague sense of something missing. Each life a failed attempt to reunite. Each death sending Theron deeper into grief, until Maya, born in Boston, growing up ordinary, never knowing a vampire had been searching for her soul across 2 centuries. The magic revealed the bond itself, a golden thread connecting Maya's soul to Theron's, frayed from centuries of separation, but undeniably real, ancient, unbreakable. The light faded. Maya collapsed, and Theron caught her, holding her steady as the chamber came back into focus. "What did you see?" Alethea demanded. "Everything." Maya's voice shook. "I saw her, Elizabeth. I saw all the lives I've lived trying to find my way back to him. I am her. I'm Elizabeth's soul, reborn." She looked up at Theron, tears streaming. "And I remember now. Not everything, but enough. Enough to know this is real." The chamber erupted in chaos. Vampires stood, some celebrating, others shouting in disbelief. Alethea raised her hand for silence. "The ritual has spoken. The bond is confirmed." Her ancient eyes swept the room. "Maya Torres carries the soul of Elizabeth Ashford, bonded to Lord Theron Blackwood, across multiple lifetimes. The claim is legitimate. Any challenge to this ruling will be met with immediate execution." She looked at Dominic's allies. Lord Ashford attacked a bonded pair. His death was justified under ancient law. This matter is closed. The hearing ended. As vampires filed out, some approached to offer congratulations, others to simply witness Maya. The human who'd proven soul bonds were real. Victoria appeared with a knowing smile. "Well done, both of you. The entire supernatural world will know by morning. No one will dare challenge your bond again." That night, back at Thornhaven, Maya stood in Elizabeth's garden, their garden now, with Theron beside her. The November air was cold, but she barely felt it. "What happens now?" Maya asked. "Now you choose." Theron turned to face her fully. "The bond is confirmed. You're safe under vampire law. You could stay here as my companion, living a normal human lifespan while I protect you. Or," he paused, vulnerable, "or you could let me turn you. Become vampire. Spend eternity with me instead of just decades." Maya thought about Sophie, about her mother, about the human life she'd be leaving behind. But she also thought about Elizabeth's journal, about a love that had transcended death, about the certainty she'd felt when the ritual showed her their bond. "Elizabeth refused because she was afraid of losing herself," Maya said slowly. "But I'm not her. I'm me. Maya Torres, who carries her soul but has my own life, my own choices." She took both Theron's hands. "And I choose you. I choose this. I choose forever. Are you certain? Once you're turned? I've spent multiple lifetimes trying to find you. I think I can handle eternity." Maya smiled. "Besides, someone needs to keep you from brooding in gardens for another 200 years. Theron laughed, real, genuine laughter that transformed his face. "Then I'll turn you, tonight if you want. Make you my mate in truth, not just in soul. Yes, tonight." The turning happened in Elizabeth's room, surrounded by 200 years of preserved love, Theron's blood in her veins, her human life ending, rebirth into something new and powerful. It hurt. It was terrifying. But Theron held her through all of it, whispering promises of forever. 3 days later, Maya opened her eyes to a world transformed. Colors sharper, sounds clearer, and the bond with Theron, no longer just spiritual but physical, unbreakable, singing through her entire being. "How do you feel?" Theron asked, wonder in his voice. Complete. Maya's new vampire senses took in everything: the room, the estate, the future stretching ahead. "For the first time in all my lives, I feel complete." Years became decades. Sophie graduated, married, had children. Maya attended every milestone, ageless while her sister grew older. Her mother passed peacefully, and Maya mourned, but she had eternity with Theron to heal. They transformed Thornhaven into a sanctuary, helping other humans in desperate situations, proving vampires could be more than predators. And every night, Maya walked through the garden Elizabeth had designed, holding Theron's hand, grateful for a debt that had brought her home. She'd expected servitude, found destiny instead. The debt was paid. The bond was eternal. And some loves, Maya learned, were simply too powerful to end.